how long. I have so many more slides in this next part. I feel like is going to be a crazy game changer for a lot of you guys. So make sure to take notes coming up because this is going to be some valuable information. Awesome. Good, good, good. Sweet. Okay. Let's play a game here. Would you guys take this trade based off of the information that we taught either through our YouTube videos or through our presentation, right? With no other higher time frame context. What we have here, pre-market low break and retest, 5-minute range low. You can see we're breaking underneath here, right? We're actually retesting here. We have a strong candle, weak reaction, and you have this confirmation candle towards the downside. To me, right, let's actually type in the chat, right? Yes or no? Would you guys take this trade? Someone said they're in a trade while watching this. Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, good for short. No. See some no's, see some yeses. Right? So based off of the information that we taught you guys in today's presentation or yesterday as well, right? What I would consider this, I would consider this fairly good, right? We have the 5-minute range low, we have the pre-market low, we're on the 1-minute time frame, right? I would consider this, right, textbook, right? Some people might say this is textbook, right? A+ setup. We had our strong candle closure, right? There's no way we can lose on this trade, right? These are some things that some of you guys may be saying right here, right? So you have this nice setup. But what happens? We actually end up getting stopped out here. Price, you had that nice confirmation candle. We had our contacts, pre-market high, pre-market low. We see some continuation, but maybe it didn't hit our profit target or 1 to 2, and then we get stopped out. Dang, why? How did we get stopped out there? What happened? Right now, you start asking yourselves, right? How did I lose? Right? What did I go? What did I do wrong there? Right? Does this strategy not work? This is my favorite one. This strategy doesn't work, and let me switch strategies. This is what most of you guys I sometimes see either on the comments or whatnot. They take one losing trade and all of a sudden it doesn't work. Right? It's like, man, this strategy sucks. What Tony and Jack have taught us, just doesn't work. Right? I've implemented into the markets. I had that 5-minute range low. I had that pre-market low, and then I end up losing money. It's like, this strategy sucks. Let me change it. But let me tell you, right? You can have the perfect break and retest and still fails. Think about that for a second, right? You can have the perfect break and retest and it still fails. And why is that the case, right? How can you be in the top 10% of traders making money? And it all stems from this, right? Context and logic is everything when it comes to trading, right? If you can understand context and logic within the break and retest, right, that's going to give you the utmost confidence and conviction in your setups. Because ultimately, if you're just strictly trading off of patterns, it's going to be very, very hard for you to become consistently profitable in the long term. What you need to build is context and logic behind the patterns themselves, because that's what is going to give you the conviction and confidence, as I mentioned, because that is everything when it comes to trading, right? So this makes a lot more sense now. So this was actually our previous example. We were, of course, on that 1-minute time frame, but now what we're going to do is zoom out. We're going to zoom out. We're on the 1-hour chart now, right? So this looks a lot more cleaner, right? We're at all-time highs, right? Why will we look for a short position when we're at all-time highs? Have you ever heard the saying, right? You don't want to short all-time highs because the market's most likely going to go higher. I know when I first started trading, a lot of it, right, when we're at all-time highs or I thought something was overextended, I was just blindly going in short, simply just based off the fact I was like, it can't go higher, right? Can it go higher? Right? It's been up too much. But you got to think about it. If we're at all-time highs and you're trying to short, why the heck would you be going short? Why wouldn't you just go long and trade within the trend? Another thing, we just had a bullish reaction after FOMC. So we not only were at all-time highs, not only did we just have bullish reaction after FOMC, we're fairly bullish here on the higher time frames. You can see we're on the 1-hour chart, right? We're having this nice break and retest. We're now retesting this previous level of resistance, turning to support. and we're continuing to push towards the upside. So we just had, right, that higher time frames, plus we mentioned we're at all-time highs, plus we had news, right? There's no way that we should be going into the markets looking for a short position, or at least we should be very cautious of going into the market with a short bias because of what I just laid out. What you want to do is trade with the trend, right? You guys have heard this all the time, right? The trend is your friend. And there's a reason why they say that. It's simple things like this where some people sometimes overlook the simple things, right? This is a common thing that everyone always says, trading with the trend, trading with the trend. And some of you guys might trade with the trend. If you're trading with the trend, let's say for the past 3 to 6 months and you've been trading names towards upside, there's a good chance you made money. If you're trading against the trend, you're trying to fight that all-time highs, you're trying to short, right? Imagine trying to make money shorting as markets are moving higher. Very, very difficult. So what we want to do is be aligned with the higher time frames. And when you're being aligned with the higher time frames and trading within the trend, right, this can get a little bit confusing. Why? Because we have so many different time frames, right? We talk about time frame alignment, we talk about top-down analysis, and we have so many different time frames here. And you guys might be confused because some of you guys might just be stuck on the 1 minute chart, and you're now going to be like, how the heck are we supposed to incorporate the 5 minute, the 15 minute, or the 1 hour daily or weekly? How are we supposed to incorporate these time frames into our trading, right? And time frame alignment is very, very important. So some of the time frames that we use, I'm curious to see, like, what time frames do you guys use, right? I personally love the 1 minute time frame. I love the 5 minute. I like the 50. I actually like all these time frames here. But what time frames is your guys' favorite, right? You guys like using the 1 minute, maybe for scalpers, maybe if you're a swing trader, maybe you're using the hourly or the daily chart, right? What is the time frame that you guys like the most, right? Type in the chat. The 2 minute, the 1 minute. See, there's so many different time frames out there, right? Someone's mentioning the 2 minute, 15, 2 minute, 3 minute. Yeah, so you guys use all different types of time frames. So you could see, right? Different types of time frames, different types of strategies, right? What are we going to be using the time frames, and how can we break the time frames that we can use it in combination with one another? Because, right, when using time frames and combining them, that's when it's going to give you the highest probability trade setup possible. So as you can see here, we have so many different time frames. You have the 1, the 5, the 15 minute, hourly, the daily, the weekly, right? There is so many different time frames, and some people might overcomplicate this, right? Or some people might make it too broad, right? Too vague, right? They talk about time frame alignment or top-down analysis, right? There's so many different time frames. What are we supposed to use? But what we have to understand is that every single time frame plays a role into the markets. And what I want to break down here is one of my favorites. It's the 4-step foundation on how to use timeframes and how to build that context and narrative to allow you to have those higher probability setups. So we're going to talk about bias, narrative, entry/setup, and then of course we're going to go over risk management. Let's first talk about bias, right? Bias is a lot easier than what most people say it out to be, right? It's basically asking ourselves, right? Are we higher or are we bullish, right? Are we making higher highs, higher lows? Are we lower or are we moving lower? Is the market bearish, right? What are we doing on the higher time frames? And basically, right, this is a very, very basic and elementary slide, but basically an uptrend when price moves higher over time, forming higher highs and higher lows, right? Everyone knows what most of you guys hopefully know what an uptrend looks like, right? Higher highs, higher lows. I don't have to go over it that much. Downtrend, when price is moving lower over time, forming lower lows and lower highs, right? Similar thing, right? Lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, and we're pushing towards the downside. And then we also have sideways price action, when price moves in a flat or sideways range without clear higher highs or higher lows. And this is also a scenario that can play out. So these are the only 3 scenarios that can play out in the overall markets. We can have a clear uptrend, we can have consolidation, or we can have a downtrend. So these are the 3 main things that we have to understand as traders going on and what's going on the higher time frames themselves. So as I mentioned, the bias is understanding the higher time frames. What higher time frames can we use, right? The weekly, the daily, the 4-hour, you can even use the 1 hour if you like as well, right? Determining the bias, right? What we're going to do is determine the bias here on the higher time frames. This can be done on the weekends, right? Because we're using the higher time frames, right? This can be done on your weekly outlooks. I post weekly outlooks every single week. But what are we mainly looking for? We're looking for trends in the markets, That's the main thing, right? Market sentiment, and if we have strong or weak bias. And what is a strong or weak bias, right? This is something that you guys might want to screenshot right here, right? It might seem very basic, but this right here will help you guys out so much, right? And it's understanding a strong bias in the markets. And that's basically when every single time frame's aligned. When you have the bullish align, when you have the monthly chart aligned, right? Obviously, we don't really use a monthly chart, but basically it's a higher time frame, right? Weekly chart, right? Daily chart, the 4-hour. When every single time frame is aligned, right? That's when you're going to have what's called a strong bias. And when you have a strong bias, that creates higher probability environments. And that's when you're going to have the best moves in the market. Number 2, right? Understanding a weak bias when timeframes aren't aligned, right? Let's say the monthly chart's bullish, but the weekly chart's bearish, right? The daily chart's bullish or the 4-hour chart's bearish, right? The timeframes aren't aligned here. You can see that we're bullish on one time frame but bearish on another. This is going to give us conflicting, right? Conflicting timeframes, and this is going to what's create a weak bias, right? Whenever things aren't aligned, we might be a little bit confused on what we're looking for. So that's why we have to be careful if there's a weak bias, because that's what creates low probability environments. So this right here is understanding weak and strong bias. As you can see here, this is just a very quick glimpse of, let's say, the NQ. This is where it's at currently. So if we're looking at the past 20 to 40 sessions, this is what we could be looking at the daily chart. I would consider this fairly bullish, right? We're making higher highs, higher lows, right? We're continuing to push higher in the market. Every single dip has gone bought up, and we're continuing to push higher. So the NQ and the QQQ, our bias is bullish. So we're looking for continuation higher. Next, what we're going to talk about is narrative, right? If we're going to go higher, where are we going to go higher from? And if we're going to go lower, where are we going to go lower from? So we have our bias. Now we're thinking about narrative. In my opinion, the best way to think about narrative is understanding, right, the key levels that we're going to be looking to take trades off of, right? If we're going to be looking for a trading opportunity, where are we going to be looking to take our trades around? Higher time frame key levels, right? Previous day highs and previous day lows, right? Weekly highs and weekly lows. We're going to be looking for key levels in the market. And what are we going to do, right? The time frames that we could be looking for in this case, right? 1 hour, 30 minute, 15 minute, and we're going to do this intraday. And by the way, if this might be a little bit confusing, we're going to have a lot of examples, don't worry. And then of course, we're going to tie it up into the live trading, so it makes a lot more sense. But bear with me if you guys are a little bit confused. Okay, so next what we have is pre-market / intraday. This is what's determining the narrative / setup. So we can do this intraday / pre-market. This can be done in the pre-market. So we're going to hop on tomorrow with you guys in the pre-market to show you exactly what we're looking for coming into the day. And this is basically building our narrative coming into market open. And what can we be looking for? Right news, right trends, key levels, right? Previous day highs, previous day lows. We could also be keeping an eye on relative strength and weakness, right? That has to do with news, or if there's any sort of right strength in the markets, that's something we can keep an eye out on. Right, news, quickly go over this. This isn't as useful. We'll talk about this more a little bit tomorrow. But bread folder news, right? Understanding if there's news in the market, something like FOMC is very important. If there's news in the market, right? News always is going to trump technicals. If we have right something coming up, which could be FOMC, CPI, PPI, if we understand that news is coming up, we have to be very cautious in our positions, because this is what's going to affect the market most. And then what else do we have is something called headlines-based news, right? Headlines-based news is just news that happens either midday or something that we don't have on the economic calendar in itself. As I mentioned, if you guys are a little bit confused, don't worry. We're going to have plenty of examples here coming up. So next, what we're going to talk about is higher time frame points of interest. So we just talked about the narrative and what we're looking for coming into the market open. What are we going to be looking for here now, right? So this is on the daily chart. So the daily chart here, this is on SPY, and we're just going to be looking for trading opportunities around key levels. In this case, it's just old previous highs turning into support, right? This is just your break and retest, but I just have zones drawn out. As you can see here, break above, retest, another break above, retest, continuation. The best trading opportunities, as you can see here, happen around these key levels, right? Your previous old highs, old lows, you can see previous resistance turn into support, best trading opportunity, continuation higher, and you can see another one, resistance, now turning back into support, and we're looking for continuation towards upside, right? Another example here, this was more recent, right? This was on Tesla. This is the hourly chart, right? Nice kind of break and retest here, right? The best opportunities are occurring around these key levels. And as I mentioned, they're just old highs and old lows in the markets, right? How to determine these levels? We'll talk about this a little bit more when we're developing our pre-market plan tomorrow. But all you have to do is understand, right? Old highs and old lows are going to be key. So as you can see here, previous resistance turned to support. Previous resistance, right? Previous day low, nice continuation higher. And you can see these levels are being used as to form our narrative and where we're going to be taking trades around. Okay, before we head on to the entry slash setup time frame, right? The lower time frames. Do we understand the bias and narrative setup, right? Do we understand how to develop a bias, right? Which is just understanding, right, if markets are heading higher or lower. Are we in an uptrend? Are we a sideways trend? Are we in a downtrend? And then developing our narrative, which is understanding where are we going to be taking trades from. Right? Type 1 in the chat if you guys understand so far, right? The narrative slash bias and what we're looking for. If you guys are a little bit confused, as I mentioned, we're going to have plenty of examples here in a second, right? Going over exactly the trades that we took in real time to show you guys, right? The full thought process from basically the pre-market to, of course, the executions in real time, and of course, recapping the trade as well. We got some water here. 111, awesome. Sweet. Perfect. Okay. So what we have here is the entry slash setup. And this is what I call the lower time frames. We can use the 1, 3, or 5 minute time frame, potentially even the 50 minute if you like. But I'm going to show you what time frame to choose specifically depending on your entry. So these are our lower time frames here. And this is what we're going to be using intraday. So whenever we have a higher time frame thesis or a higher time frame narrative, what do we need? We need an entry model. Just because we're bullish on the higher time frames doesn't mean we can just blindly buy. Let's say we're at all-time highs. It's mostly likely going to go higher, right? Can we just buy? No, we need an entry time frame. We need to have low risk, good reward to capture that higher time frame thesis. So this is what we're going to do on the entry time frames. And what can we do here? Right? We're going to do this intraday. And what are we looking for? Setups, confluences, entries slash exits, managing our position, and basically risk management itself. And this is all done on the lower time frames, which is the entry time frame. Okay, so as you can see here, what I mentioned earlier was that if we have, let's say, for example, a daily narrative, right? We're looking for a daily break and retest here. You can see we have a higher time frame, we have a solid break and retest here on the daily chart, and we're looking for continuation towards upside. So as you can see here, right, most of you guys can see this. Nice daily break and retest, and we're looking for continuation. But if this is on the daily chart, how the heck are we supposed to capture this trade, right? Let's say, for example, if we're on the 1 minute time frame, right? We're looking for entries on the 1 or the 5 minute, but we have a daily narrative on the break and retest. It's going to be very difficult. Why? Because we have too much distance in between the time frames. So as you can see here, if you have that daily narrative and we have a confirmation on the 1, there's way too much distance. So if you're on the 1 minute time frame, it might look like a clear downtrend, right? Maybe it breaks structure, maybe it just kind of chops around. It's going to be very hard to capture a daily break and retest on the 1 minute. Why? Because as I mentioned, too much distance in between the time frames. So this right here is one of my favorite slides that I've created, right? It's understanding the narrative to the entry. And this is very important. If you guys, right, make sure to take a screenshot of this, right? I'm going to pause this here and I'm going to explain it here in a second. But this is a very important slide for understanding the narrative in relation to the entry model in itself. So, for example, if we have a weekly and daily narrative, right? Where's our entry going to be? It's really only going to be max 1 to 2 time frames away. And of course, if you're entering on the daily chart, the 4 hour, right? This is of course like long-term and position trading. So we don't normally use this, right? Position trading. But next, what we have is the 4 hour narrative and the 1 hour narrative. And what entry are we going to be using? We're going to basically be using the 1 hour and 15 minute. And this is more done for swing trading and other things as well, right? Swing trading and maybe a few weeks, basically swing trading and higher time frame trades. And then finally, what we have here is the narrative on the 15 minute and the entry on the 1 minute. And what we have here is basically we're only 2 time frames away. So 2 time frames away is a great rule of thumb from your narrative to your entry. Because as I mentioned, if you have a weekly narrative, there's too much distance from all the way from the weekly chart all the way down to the 15-minute chart, right? We only want to be 2 time frames away. So if we have the narrative, then we have the entry on the 1-minute time frame. And then finally, what we have is risk management, where the time frame we use is dependent on the narrative and entry time frame. So if you have a narrative on the 15-minute and entry on the 1-minute time frame, then what we have is our risk management. We can manage risk in between the narrative and the entry. You guys can rewatch this, or you can take a screenshot of this, or we can manage this on the 1-minute if you want to be more aggressive in a risk management approach. This is what I personally like to do, right? Because I'll look to always potentially enter on an 84% rule. I'll look to keep my risk tight. If you want to have normal risk, then you can risk in between the narrative and the entry model. So we can use the entry timeframes in between the narrative and the risk. And that's the way, narrative and the entry time frame to manage our risk. Okay. Before we get into some examples here, right? Do you guys understand the entries, right? Understanding the entry time frame and the risk management time frames. As I mentioned, right, make sure you took a screenshot of that. You guys can go back and rewind and take a screenshot here. Now I'm going to go over examples to really solidify exactly how to implement this in real time using what I just taught. Type 1 in the chat, or type yes in the chat if you guys are finding value so far. Let's see how many people are in here. Let's bump up the likes here as well, right? Make sure if you guys haven't hit the like button, drop a like here. Let's see if you can get to 2,000 likes on this live stream. That'd be crazy. Yes, yes, yes. Good. Yes, so much useful. Sweet. Awesome. Okay, we have a lot of examples to go over here. So this is really what's going to solidify this and help us build that confidence and conviction in our trades, because now we have more context, because we understand time frames. We understand trading with the trend. So right here, this was an example. And by the way, all these examples that we took are in real time. These examples are more recent as well. This was actually a few weeks ago. So this is Palantir, September the 18th, right? And I'm making 7.4K on this trade. This was a textbook break and retest on the higher time frames. So first things first, what are we looking for? We're looking for the higher time frames here on Palantir. You can see we have a 1-hour chart and we're pushing nicely towards the upside. What are we looking for? We're looking for the break above, retest, continuation. Why? Because that would be the break of structure towards the upside, plus that would be the nice trend to hold for a nice break and retest, right? Most of you guys can see this: break, retest, continuation. So this is what we are looking for on the higher time frames. What do we have in the pre-market? During the market hours? We're breaking above the key level with a strong candle close. You can see we're breaking above your pre-market high key level here within the first 5 minutes. You can see we're on the 5-minute time frame with a lot of strength. If we have a lot of strength and we're breaking above the key levels, now what we can be looking for? We can be looking for the potential retest, right? Because of this big candle right off the bat. So as you can see here, now we're on the 1-minute time frame. What are we going to be doing? We're going to be looking for the retest entry for confirmation. So you can see we had a really big push towards the upside. Now what we have here as well is your pre-market high plus your key level break and retest. So we're going to be looking for the potential retest off of your pre-market high for continuation. Some of you guys may ask, why not use the 5-minute opening range? Right, you could also potentially be looking for the 5-minute opening range, but what makes a lot more sense in this case is the higher time frame break and retest plus your pre-market high, right? This would be a lot better of a break and retest than something where they just have the 5-minute opening range, no other confluences as well. So we get that retest, and you can see what we have here is strong price action. You can see we're coming back into that pre-market high and key level. You can see price pulls back. We have buyers stepping in. Now what we have is the confirmation candle. So the confirmation candle is very key here, right? We actually have 2 entry models. I'm going to talk about this. But basically, the 2 different entry models that we have, you guys might have heard us talk about this before. We have the conservative entry model, which is waiting for buyers to step in. And we have the most conservative, which is waiting for the buyers to step in, plus the confirmation. This is my personal favorite. This is the one that Tony loves as well, is waiting for that confirmation candle. If we can get that confirmation candle close above its previous candle and above the first candle, right? This is a 3-pattern sequence. If I'm going too fast, let me know. But basically what we have here, 3-candle sequence. The third candle is that confirmation candle that's going to confirm price back towards the upside. So As you can see here, now we have a lot more information. We have your pre-market high plus key level retest. We come into this, we have that confirmation candle, which is breaking it back above its previous candle. We have strong buyers stepping in here as well. We enter in on this candle close. Our stop can be just a break underneath your first candle, and we're looking for high of day plus continuation. And you can see on the 5-minute chart here as well, perfect break and retest here on the 5, and you can see nice continuation back towards the upside. You can see here, these were my trade executions here on Palantir. Ended up trading 60 contracts. This actually ended up moving later into the day with some trailers, 60 contracts, right? 67% net ROI, right? These are my broker executions here as well. And then of course, right, we did this in live markets, right? Do you guys have any questions regarding that trade thesis, right? Does this make sense, right? Just based off of what I explained to you, right? It wasn't just that pre-market high plus that, key level break and retest, but we had that higher time frame break and retest. We had that pullback, right? We're looking for that 1 hour time frame break and retest. We had that pullback with displacement. We had that confirmation candle. We waited for a confirmation entry, and then we had a nice continuation towards the upside. Let's see. Yes, that makes sense. Yes, yes, yes. Good, good, good. For sure. Awesome. We have plenty of more examples here as well. Okay. Now let's go on to the second example. This was on Tesla, September the 22nd. For me, I made over $17,000 on this day. This was one of the best trading days of the year. This was on Tesla. And what were we looking for, right? This was actually a swing position, and this was also a day trading position here as well. So as you can see here, what we have is Tesla on the higher time frames. So we have the 1 hour chart. And you can see what we have in this case is a flat top break. A flat top break is one of the most bullish patterns that you can have on the higher time frames. So as you can see, most of you guys are able to see this, but what do we have is a clear trend, right? Most of you guys can see this clear trend. We're now making a flat top. What are we going to be doing? We're going to be looking for continuation towards upside. So you can see, right? This is the higher time frame trend. So we're bullish. We're on the 1 hour time frame. Now, what are we going to be looking for coming into today? We're going to be looking for a break of the flat top. So we're building up higher lows. Now we're having clear level of resistance. We're going to be looking for the break, retest, continuation towards the upside. So now we're on the lower time frame. So that's our higher time frame thesis. Now we're on the lower time frames, right? We're breaking above the key level with a strong candle close. You can see we're breaking above your previous day highs along with your pre-market highs. So on the 5-minute time frame, you can see within the first 5 minutes, we're having a really strong push towards the upside. Next, after that first 5-minute candle closes, what can we be looking for? Some of you guys might be asking, am I going to be now looking for the 5-minute retest high for continuation or the potential previous day high retest for continuation towards upside? So there's two different scenarios here, right? What are the two potential trading opportunities? And both of them are good, right? If it comes back to your previous day highs, we can be looking for that. If we break above your 5-minute range high, we can be looking for the 5-minute range high retest. So as you can see right here, I play with the tape a little bit more. We're now on the 1-minute time frame. And you can see this is our 5-minute high and this is our previous day highs. It would make a lot more sense that we're going to be looking for this 5-minute range retest for continuation higher than looking for this pullback all the way back down in towards that previous day highs. Right, sorry, I didn't have the previous day highs marked here, but this would make a lot more sense. We're now going to be looking for this 5-minute range high, plus you also have the plus we have an order block or the one candle. We talked about that setup yesterday with Tony, the 5-minute range high retest with the order block, right? And what we're doing here is we're combining them together, right? We have more context now. So we have the higher time frames. We have a strong push right off the bat. Now we're pushing higher here with displacement here on Tesla on the 1-minute time frame. What can we be looking for? We can be looking for the 5-minute range high retest in combination with the order block. So we can combine these together to give us a lot more higher probability of a setup. And as you can see here, based off of the retest, right? We come back, retest with a strong candle, right at our 5-minute range high, retest, right? Order block here as well. Wait for that confirmation. In this case, we were bullish, so we actually waited for our second entry model, which was waiting for the buyers to step in. You can see once the buyer stepped in, enter, stop a break below, and we're looking for continuation back towards high of day and above. And you can see here on the 5-minute time frame, nice tap into the 5-minute range here as well, and we have continuation higher. So does this make sense here based off of what I outlined? I might be going a little bit too fast, but basically what you have to understand is that the context and logic and what's important and the reasoning behind why these trades work, right? What I'm doing is giving you context on why these trades work, right? From the pre-market, from the intraday price action, right? The displacement coming back, right? With the entry model, right? Waiting for the buyers to step in. And we have this nice continuation higher. Great. Awesome. Right, so these are my trade executions here as well on Tesla. I end up swinging this one. So this is my trade executions. And then of course, right, every single trade that we do take is live, right? So you guys can look back on, right? We have recorded live trading sessions. I have the pre-market preps that are done every single day. So everything is done in real time. And of course, right, we've had some people that took this in real time. This was super solid. We actually were swinging some Tesla calls over the weekend. Plus, we ended up getting a Tesla trade intraday as well, which is absolutely fantastic, right? Whenever Tesla does run, it usually has these great opportunities. Sweet. Awesome, awesome. Okay, these are just some more testimonials that we do have. And then finally, what we have is Tesla September the 11th. This is a trade that we briefly touched up on yesterday, and this was one of the biggest and best trades of the year. And I'm going to give us a little bit more context on why this trade ended up working out and why this was so powerful. Right, number one, Tesla on the higher time frames. This is a daily time frame chart, and this is what we were looking at coming into market open. As you can see here for Tesla, right, we have another flat top break. This is one of the most powerful setups on the daily chart, on the weekly chart. This is, if you see this on the chart, right, you better keep your eyes open. You better have alerts set because there's a potential big trade coming, right? The longer the base, the bigger the breakout. So in this case, Tesla was consolidating for a few months. We had higher lows being built. We were very keen on taking Tesla towards the upside because of this higher time frames. As you can see, we're on the 1-hour chart now. So we're just on the daily chart. We had a flat top break and we're looking for continuation higher. We're on the 1-hour chart. Look at this. This is beautiful as well. So we have the daily chart. This is shaping up nicely. We're now on the 1-hour chart. And you can see we're building up higher lows here as well. And we have a clear level of resistance. So coming into market open, right, Tesla is in a very key inflection point. We are about to have a huge break towards the upside here on Tesla, or we're going to ultimately fail and break towards the downside. So we're very keen on taking, or very prepared for a big move to happen here on Tesla coming into market open, just based off of this higher time frame thesis that I laid out with the daily time frame break and also the 1-hour time frame break. And of course, the entry model that we used, 5-minute opening range break, mark out your 5-minute high, mark out your 5-minute low. Then we go on to the lower time frames, and you can see here, right, 5-minute range high, 5-minute high, we have our 5-minute low. Enter in on that enter in as we have a super solid reaction off of our 5-minute range high. And if you're looking at this on the 15-minute time frame, we're gravitating higher. So we're taking some profits up in towards our key level, which is our previous day high. So as you can see here, right, we're taking some profits intraday, but what are we going to do? We're going to leave some trailers, right, to capture that higher time frame thesis. This is what made majority of our money, right? We used that higher time frame thesis. Of course, we locked in profits because we're going to scale along the ways, but the power of options and the power of holding trailers is you're going to be able to capture that higher time frame objective. So as you can see here, right, we ended up entering here, scaled some up into that previous day highs, but we're holding trailers because now we're trying to capture that higher time frame move. So as you can see here on the daily chart, we're shaping up fairly nicely on the 1-hour time frame, right? We're looking for that continuation break, right? Flat top here as well. And we're looking for continuation towards the upside, right? Does this trade make sense? And also, right, here are some of my TradeZilla executions, right? This was on the Tesla 355 calls, right? The entry price here was $2.50 a contract. And some of our final trailers, went to $40 a contract. Obviously, this is very unrealistic that you're going to hold your full position, but if you can hold even a few trailers, in this case, I only had less than 5% of my position, but these trailers end up making over 50% of my P&L. Then that's the power of options. And I'm sure some of you guys probably took this trade. This was on Tesla in the chat, right? This was one of the best trades and the best trading opportunities of the year, right? One contract at $250 could have netted you $4,000 at the max, right? Obviously, as I mentioned, right? Trailers, you're not going to hold this. It's very unrealistic that you're going to hold the full position, but right, we can have trailers and we can capture a majority of the move. And then of course, right, we have some testimonials here, right? Some of you guys had the biggest trade. And it's so awesome to see as well is that not only understanding, right, the trade in itself, but understanding the thesis and logic and taking the trade for yourself. And that is what's key in trading. And that's what we're always trying to teach, is that we're trying to teach thesis and logic and why the trades work out, not just, right, taking signals, right, just looking for setups just because, right? We want to build confidence and conviction so that you can do this over a long period of time. Okay. One of my favorite quotes here is when you stop becoming a pattern trader, right? That's when you start becoming a real trader in the markets, right? When you stop focusing on just patterns and stuff and start thinking in terms of context and logic, right? That's when you're going to become a real trader, because you're going to have conviction and confidence in your setups. Because I know a lot of you guys can understand the 5-minute range retest, understand the previous day high break and retest, or the 1-minute candle range retest. That is very simple. And we can teach that. I can teach that to you within 5 to 10 minutes. But if you want to become consistent and have conviction in your trades, you need to start thinking with context and logic. And when you start combining your strategy with it, that's when you're going to start seeing more results in the market. So for me personally, right, when I was just strictly focused on patterns, right, taking signals, right, not following my risk management, I was constantly blowing up my accounts. But when I started thinking with context and logic and thinking logically and why the trades work out, right, I started gaining more consistency in the markets. All right, I started gaining conviction and confidence. And when you gain conviction and confidence in your trades, that's going to allow you to have not only an edge in the markets, right? That's going to allow you to start scaling and having proper trades, right? And capturing these higher time frame thesis. Because ultimately, the most money I make in trading is being able to capture these higher time frame trades, right? These ones are going to make majority of your money when you're able to hold and have conviction in your setups, right? So now, right, I just went over, right, phase 1 of your trading journey, right? That initial euphoria / setup phase. Now I just talked about phase 2, right? Understanding confidence, right? We talked about the setups yesterday, the system yesterday, and now I just went over the confidence and I just went over the conviction and why you should be able to take the trades that you do. Now, what is phase 3, right? Once you have phase 2 marked out, and once you have that completed, right, what is phase 3, right? Phase 3 is something that you can do once you capture, right, once you're able to have that conviction and confidence in your setup, right? And basically, once I was able to get out of phase 2, right, I was able to make over $200,000 in my last month trading. These are just some of the statistics that I have, but this is my past 3 months of trading. And what I mentioned here is that once you get out of phase 2, right, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? You're not going to win every single day, right? There's no like single holy grail that you're just going to automatically become profitable, right? You're still going to have drawdown periods. You're still going to have losing trades, right? In July, I had a decent amount of losing trades here, right? In September, right? Similar thing. I had some pretty big, this was August, and then this is September. This is the current month. I've had some big red days. I've had some losing periods, and I've had some drawdowns. But ultimately, if you're able to build that confidence and logic, right, have a proven system and edge, right, you're going to be consistent over the long period of time. And of course, right, this can be shown, right, through brokers, statements, and live trading. We live trade every single day in front of you guys, right? And this system that Tony taught me with hard work and discipline, I was to fulfill one of my dreams that I had. So I just showed you guys what I went through the phase 2, and finally through the system, right? Refining the system, making for myself, refining the edge. I was able to, right? This is one of my favorite moments that I was able to do was I actually got my mom her dream car. This was actually last year. So before I did anything, right, I took care of my parents and I was able to buy her her dream car. And this is still one of the most proudest achievements that I have to this day. And I always look back on this because this is a huge milestone, at least for me personally. And then so now that you know my trading journey, right? So you know the system worked for me as well as hundreds of other traders, right? Let me give the stage back to who made this possible, who made this webinar possible, and gave me an opportunity to talk to you guys today. And let me give you the stage back. I'm going to bring back Tony on here. I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Hopefully you guys learned a lot and what I taught you guys today, and you guys can implement this into the markets. But I know some of you guys are asking, right, where's Tony, right? So I'll give the stage back to him. I really appreciate for all of you guys listening to me and staying and listening to me. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. And now let's bring back Tony.
All right. Damn. There was some value being spit there. What's up, everybody? Did you guys enjoy that session? So the thing is, right? I try to make sure everything was super simple. And Jack came in and he tried to simplify everything as well. Obviously, some things in trading are going to be a little bit more complicated, but we try to simplify it as much as possible, right? And hopefully you guys saw that. I think there was so much value. If you actually listened to what he said, if you took notes, there was genuinely so much value that was just given, but we're still not done, right? We're still not done. We still have a lot more way to go. So I'm going to take over again, okay? And I'm going to go through what needs to be taught. Okay, you guys ready? I see the chat moving. WWW, yes, 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 got value. Thank you, J-Dub. Yes, yes, yes. That was a banger. Awesome. All right, let's get into it. So everything that Jack talked about, okay, everything that he talked about requires one thing. And it's literally this one thing that unfortunately 90% of the people even in this room lack. Okay, 90% of the people in this room lack this one thing that is going to push you into stage 3. Right? If you're in stage 1 or stage 2, what's going to push you into stage 3 to actually be a profitable trader? There is one thing that you're all, or 90% of you are lacking that is going to push you into the next stage. So it's the one thing that's going to help you skip low probability trades or low probability days. It's the one thing that's going to help you say no to trades. Okay, it's the one thing that's going to help you wait for your proven edge, right? Because we've taught you almost everything you need to know at this point, right? But how can you wait for that edge? How are you going to stay and say, no, I'm not taking this trade, right? It's the one thing that's going to help you protect your capital, which is so important. And it is going to be the absolute difference between you just being a gambler and trying to make money by gambling into trades, or actually being a real trader, someone that has a proven process over and over and over again. Okay, so can you guess what it is? In the chat, let me see some guesses. What do you guys think is the one thing that is stopping you from seeing the consistency, stopping you from seeing Jack's progression from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3, where he's at currently, where he's able to make consistent profits in the market? What is the one thing that's allowed him to get there? And what is the one thing that's stopping you guys? And remember, like I said, it's something that 90% of you guys are lacking. Why am I saying this? Is because I saw it in the chat yesterday, right? Yesterday, we had a little bit of technical issues, and I saw in the chat that 90% of you guys were lacking this. By the way, these slides, I added on these specific slides from yesterday. So that's a little bit of a hint, right? And some of you guys are getting it right. The one thing that is stopping you from seeing the results that you want to see, from being the profitable trader that you want to be, is patience. Okay. A lot of you guys want profitability right now. You think there's a secret that I can give you right now. There's a couple 3-line word and you're just going to be profitable. You're going to walk out tomorrow and make $100,000, right? The goal of this challenge, the goal of these 3 days over the next day as well, we still have one more day left. Remember, right? Remember, we still have one more day left. But the goal is to teach you guys the full system. Remember, tomorrow we're live trading in front of you. It does not get more clear than that. It does not get more transparent than that. Okay. But you need the patience to follow your system. Okay. Because the impatience that you guys have right now will destroy your account. I promise you. If you are an impatient trader, this will 100% destroy your account. It will destroy not only your confidence, but your account as well. Okay. But patience and making sure that you have the discipline to follow your system is what's going to build your account over time. Now, with this being said, one thing I want to make very clear is that success is not linear, right? You guys may think that Jack's journey looked like this, right? It's a continuous, never-ending improvement where he was in stage 1 here, stage 2 here, and stage 3 up here. No, right? From someone that's seen the journey, from someone that's seen what's going on behind the scenes, I can tell you, right? When you start off, you may have a little bit of a pump, and then you drop, and then you push all the way up, and then you have a plateau, and then you dip. And it's this continuous cycle of you plateauing, dipping, then increasing, right? It happens with business. If you're an athlete, you can relate with this as well. It happens in trading as well, right? So remember that your success in trading, you're not going to make, $1,000 a day every single day. You can make $1,000 a day consistently over a long period of time, right? So the average is $1,000, but it's not like for example, for myself, it's not like I come in and I make $10,000 every single day. Right? I make $10,000 one day. I may make $20,000 the next day. I may lose $5,000 the next day. Right? But when you average it out, I make $10,000 a day. Right? And that's very, very important to mention. So far, are you happy that you showed up today and learned everything we discussed? Are you guys happy that you showed up today and you were able to take something away today? Right? Are you happy that you honestly just spent the time with us today to actually see success, right? Did you learn something today? Let's see this chat. I want to see this chat moving. Let's see. Yes, yes, yes. Patience. Yes, yes. 100%. Love to see it. Look at this chat moving. See? Exactly. So that's what I love to see, right? We have 3,000 people in here right now, okay? 3,000 people. And all of you guys, I hope, were able to get some value out of this, right? Now, one thing I want to see is what was your guys' most favorite part, right? What was your favorite part of today's session? I just want to know. For me personally, I think one of my most favorite parts was really seeing the progression from step 2 or stage 2 to stage 3, right? Seeing where most people are right now in stage 2 and seeing where you can be in stage 3. I think that's a very powerful thing that if you can accomplish that, that is a huge, huge accomplishment. Okay. So with this being said, can you see yourself over the last 2 days? Can you see yourself using what we saw? Right? Can you see yourself using what we covered in these lessons? Yes, yes, yes. This is game changer. Absolutely game changing. My trading is changing. Even from yesterday, I'm up $1,500 due to your teachings. Love it. Love it. Right? Awesome. So now, with this being said, here's the honest truth. Okay? Here is the honest truth. The truth is, even after 2 in-depth sessions, a few days isn't going to build years of habits. You have to remember, habits takes times. Okay. Your habits don't just change overnight. For someone that is a smoker and you're trying to quit smoking, it just doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to let go of that. Even if it's a bad habit, if it's a good habit, it takes time to develop. Okay. So far, what we've done is we've given you the map, we've given you the checklist, and we've given you the proof that it works. Do you guys agree with that? Do you agree that we've given you the map, we've given you the checklist, and we've seen the proof, right? We've seen the proof that the system works. Jack is a testimonial. We've shown you multiple other ones as well, right? There's people in this, the chat that are saying they made money even today. Okay, Tony is a smoker. No, I'm not. I do not smoke. Okay, so with that being said, lasting change takes reps, right? It takes repetition and it takes constant improvements. You have to consistently improve day in and day out. And most importantly, you have to stay disciplined. You have to make sure that you don't lose, the actual goal, your why, right? Jack talked about his why. His why is he wanted to help his family. He wanted to help his parents. And that's important because that why is what keeps you going. That why is why you want to see more success. It's what's going to take you through the dark times. So for myself, I had two options with this 3 day, kind of session that we had. Option number one, we could end today, right? Because the value I think we gave, good luck trying to find that on YouTube in the simplicity we do it with, right? Good luck trying to find it with the simplicity that we give it to you, right? So we could end today, wish you luck, and hope that you see more success. And honestly, hope that the notes you took are enough for you to piece all of this together by yourself, right? That is something that we could have done today and just be like, all right, you know what? This is enough. You guys see what you needed to see. And that's honestly what we did for the first summit, right? If anyone was here for summit number 1, we only had a 1-day summit. There was so much value that we provided there, and then we just called it a day, right? So with this being said, some will, right? Some will see the results. Some will see the results and they will actually take what we taught and they will apply it. However, others may skip some steps and find themselves stuck in the same cycle over and over again, right? They see some success, but then they keep continuously losing. Why? Because they're caught up doing the same thing every single day, expecting a different result. They don't actually believe that they can see success in trading. You need to actually believe that you can be a successful trader to see more success. Okay. So what was option number 2, right? Thank you. And reality is you probably do understand to make it go from I get it to I do. I want to make it where you can make this. So with this, am I lagging? I should be good. I think we should be good. Yeah, just refresh the browser. I should be good though. Good. Make sure to type yes if we're good. For a second, you're good. Are we back? Are we back? Are we back? We good? That being said, let me go back real quick, just if I was lagging. So that the accountability is there for you, okay? For option there. So if you felt clear, and how many of you guys have felt much more clear and days? Type 1 in the chat. Type clear and confident in your trading over the last 2 days. So have you felt more clear and confident? Type 1 in the chat if you have seen in your trading. Yes. Absolutely insane. This chat is moving. With this being said, if you've seen that, if we keep going together. So this has never been introduced before. It is Edge. Okay. Now, what is the Trader's Edge? On path to help you lock in the system. This is what's going to help you stack. You want to make sure that you have consistent results. We don't want these short-term results. We want long period of time. Okay. And reach the $100,000 status. The actual goal, which is making consistent, right? We want to make sure you guys actually get consistent income. So in Trader, a structured course and a full, and yesterday, for example, we went through around, we have 15 hours of recorded training going We have 15 hours going into more. Okay. Do you guys hear me? Do you guys hear me? Type yes if you hear me. Hear me. Type yes if you guys hear me. Really. Type yes if you guys can hear me. If it's lagging, just refresh. Okay, perfect. First is a step-by-step training to master proven. Okay, this will actually, it's 15 hours from absolute beginner to pro. Even if you're an, will learn something from this. Okay, with this being said, I don't know how many of you guys know this. We have an indicator. These levels are the exact levels that we talk about. The previous day high and previous day low strategy. All of those are automated. So you will get within this. So this will make your end much more clear. On top of this, okay, so small personalized group calls. And these calls are led with J-Dub, right? So if you guys think that you are getting a lot of value, imagine if you had a small group of very people and getting the same value in a personalized one-on-one implementation call. Me is one-on-one session, so the actual coaches trading journey and understand exactly where you are. Implementation call so you can see how you can get the most importantly, and this is what I really and J-Dub and of course hundreds of other traders. Tips that you build within this community are priceless. To Los Angeles, I believe next week, we people that are only in Traders Lab for absolutely free. They actually doing it in Hollywood Hills, right? Trade reviews. Nothing is hindsight. You with the market moving, but on top of that, I have two from 2022. Imagine in 2022, right? $1,000 trades to now in 2025. I'm taking right. So imagine being able to see that journey, piece that together yourself, seeing how I was able to. That's not even the best part. Okay. Best part. The best part is the enter a trade every single time. And people know this. Single trade that I enter, you will know about. From real market moves. And the most important part, we'll say if you join whatever, blah, 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 right? They will say, oh, if you join, you're not trading with my team. You're trading with me because that the value you want is coming from J-Dub, right? And so we will give you that. We've been right with the accelerator, right? And so the trading that you want in real time is with us. And this is what you've been waiting for. I promise you this is going to be game changing, okay? 14-day live bootcamp. Okay, absolutely have never done before. And everything, okay? Week number 1. Gone through and we've tried to help you guys understand for you so you can understand it, and using the information you 100%. However, there is an system, right? You have to see the edge, right? specific stock with QQQ, the correlation topics that we can dive into for genuinely need to do this, right? Not because because it would genuinely be impossible. We have live in front of all of you guys. It would take me genuinely. Okay, so the hidden edge is what we're going to talk about. We will talk about the system. We've already talked about our system edge. And week number 3, we will be only do you have this 14-day live bootcamp, you complete year. Okay, and right, these are the exact systems. These are the exact give up to 18,000 from $9,000 in profit in 1 month, right? Which is a 20 badly before joining this Discord was down. And now just from the month of February, $4,470. That's right? Jerry, $12,000. $12,000 in September. That is this month. $400 in 1 week. Okay. Dollars to finish August, right? Which means, okay, Hustle with Bagarov, 1. Now, Brian, showing you all of this, and the reason I'm showing you these results, right? You may think it's not possible, but see these results: $1,100 in August with. Okay, so what is Traders live day trading for a complete year, every single day from Voice, right? Every single day, J-Dub shares single day on Voice, and I also hop on Voice. I at least 3 to 4 times a week, right? And we will live stuff like that can join, right? I try to hop on text as well. Everything we've learned, plus much, much, much more detail. You guys understand exactly what's going on. Weekly and course, and on top of that, all of this, everything that I've just talked, $1,497 for this is because the amount of time and effort every single person that joins gets value from this. We don't want a lot of people to join. First of all, we don't. Exactly why for the next 48 hours, that's the this, by the way, on social media. You will never see me talking about it in front of you guys, right? I am not at all, right? The only reason I'm doing this is because it's profitable. Okay. So for the next 48 will be available, and then this program will be shut down forever. I promise you, for the next 4 will shut down forever. You will not hear me talk about them, and you're actually getting results. You'll hear me talking about the results. Okay. So with this being said, this is the exact same. This is the exact same thing. Kyle Johnson made $2,000. Keith Lee made $1,200, right? What they paid for the program. So one of you that showed up, right? I want to make this so clear, by the way. Up today, every single one of you guys that show up into Trader's Edge, you will still get the book that I've been working on for the last 2 months. I just want to make that able to get the Trader's Edge. You will still get never released it to the public. You will still get that. Of course, if you are still here, you will get this. You have to remember, we're still giving away to 5 winners. You will still get that. Remember, and you make sure that you're taking notes. You are free TradeZilla accounts. Okay. So I want to make sure that a lot of free items for you guys. You guys will still be getting that want to win. For the people that can take their trading to the next journey, next level, right? And just by the way, right? Trader's Edge is for you. They want to take trading to the next level, that actually want to put in the time and want me, J-Dub, other hundreds of traders see the real results that they do. Now, the link to get Trader's Edge is in. So if you go to the comment section, go to the pin, first come, first serve. Okay. Make sure you use that link 48 hours after down this program forever. You will not get it. To join the accelerator for a year, $1,500 just to join the accelerator, plus the boot camp. Okay, so you are. Okay, now I want to make sure that you guys remember, you're not going to have quick results with trading. I'm not tell you is that trading does not. Trading does not need to be complicated. Profitable trader. It is 100% possible, but only if you have the right. This is your foundation. This is your. We went through your process, and remember, this is the slide. The slide was that money follows the. Feel like if you could achieve the goal of only following you, that would feel pretty good, right? Have the guidance and you have someone holding. That way the money chases after you rather than you chase. So with this being said, like I said, your corner helping you, you can see that happen. Remember, if you're here for all 3 days, you will still get the free TradeZilla accounts entered in to win $1,000 live account. To you guys, did you guys get value? You'll see results on my story, right? For Trader's Edge, right? After these next 48 hours, you will see results on my story, but I will never talk about it. I promise. 100%. Okay. So to cover today for Trader's Edge, the link. Okay. So if the link is going to be in the description of in the comment section.